Have you ever felt like someone might be watching your every move on your phone? It's a scary thought, isn't it? But many people today don't even know how to tell if their devices are being tracked. The thought of someone tracking your phone, invading your privacy, and challenging your security can be very unsettling, to say the least. Before we dive into how to detect if our phone is being tracked, let's talk about why it's such a big deal. When our phones are being tracked, our personal data is being collected and used for who knows what. And this is a serious threat to our online and personal safety and security. First, let me tell you, when it comes to detecting phone tracking, it can be tough to know where to start. The truth is, tracking a phone is relatively easy, and it's not just hackers and cyber criminals who can do it. Governments and advertisers are tracking our phones, tablets, laptops, and computers as we speak right now. And once our phone is being tracked, it can be difficult to detect it and stop it. Malware and spyware can be hidden deep within our devices, making these nefarious pieces of software almost impossible to detect. The risks involved, however, are very real. From identity theft, financial fraud, and even physical harm, the consequences of having our phones tracked can be definitely unnerving. And the worst part is, many of us don't even realize we're being tracked. We might just think our phones are slow or our batteries are old and just dying faster than usual. But the truth is, our phones, my phone, your phone, could be sending personal data to who knows who out there on the old interwebs. It is a serious problem indeed, but it's not all doom and gloom. By being aware of the risks and taking the right steps, we can protect ourselves from phone tracking. But first, let's talk about how phone tracking actually works. This video is sponsored by OREP Insurance and Working PI Magazine. OREP is a leading provider of private investigator liability insurance. Visit orep.org for a quote today. There are a few different methods that hackers, trackers, and other bad guys use to keep tabs on us and our phones. One common method is through the use of malware and spyware, which can be installed on our devices without us even knowing about it. Another method is through the use of our phone's GPS and location services. Yes, these settings that are made to make our lives simpler can be used to harm just as easily. These trackers can be used to track our whereabouts in real time, which can be especially risky if we're using public Wi-Fi or unsecured networks. There are even tools that can use our phone's camera and microphone to spy on us in real time. It is a scary thought, but by knowing how these tools work, we can take steps to protect ourselves. So how can we detect if our phone is being tracked? Is it even possible to detect? One major sign is if our phone is overheating or the battery is dying quickly. This could be a sign that there's malware running in the background, using up our phone's resources. You see, these pieces of malicious software require a large amount of power and system memory to keep track of us in real time and to keep sending the data to the bad guys. Another sign is if we notice strange behavior from our phone, such as apps opening or closing on their own. Some of these tracking apps require other apps to help them keep track of us and send that data across the internet. Not to mention, some of these trackers act as viruses and infect other apps, making just about any app be able to track us. But don't give up yet. There are tools we can use to detect tracking software on our phones. Having good antivirus software can detect and remove malware and spyware, while other tools can help us identify if our phone's GPS is being used to track our location. We can also check our phone's privacy settings to see which apps have access to our personal data. The most effective way to detect if our phone is being tracked is to be proactive about our privacy and security. This means being careful about the apps we download and the websites we visit, as well as using strong passwords and two-factor authentication. The best passwords are at least 16, preferably 24 or more characters long, with all the characters being random, to include caps and lowercase letters, numbers, and special characters. You know, like what a password manager would create for you. In fact, I highly suggest using a password manager to protect your login and password information. I also highly suggest that every login has a different, completely different password. If possible, you might also use a different login for each account, but that oftentimes is very complicated, and sometimes it's not even possible, as many sites now just use your email address as your login name. Now, if you don't use a password manager, there is another way to help secure those passwords, which I refer to as simple sentencing passwords. What you do here is use a longer sentence that you'll remember, like, my grandmother loved baking chocolate chip cookies. To further mix it up, you might do this with numbers for vowels, sort of like this example. The big key here is to make it long and not easy to guess. You see, brute force attacks on a password with only 8 characters would be hacked in mere seconds. But with 16 characters or more, it would literally take billions of years to go through all of the possibilities. But the one big caveat here to keeping your data secured is to use a different password on each account. And that has to be very different, not sort of different. If you got hacked and your password, my grandmother loved baking chocolate chip cookies, got out there, it would end up on some list getting sold to other hackers. And all they have to do is try other variations then, like my grandmother liked baking chocolate sugar cookies, or some other variant. Once they know one password, it is easy for them to build a brute force attack on similar possible passwords. But if you have a simple long sentence password, 16 characters or more, that is completely different for every login, it is not so easy for them to crack the code. Using two-factor authentication is also a must-do thing in today's world, folks. I know so many people that don't do this and keep themselves exposed, all in the name of convenience. But that simple thing, adding a PIN or getting a text with a code or using biometric data alongside a strong password, saves so many people every single day. I myself have had accounts that bad guys tried to hack in the past, and because I had two-factor authentication activated, I was notified of the hack attempt and able to stop it dead in its tracks. Is two-factor authentication the end-all, do-all? No, it's not. But it goes a long way to protecting us against many attacks today. Using a VPN is also something I highly suggest too. Again, not the end-all, do-all to data protection, but adding this as an added layer of protection that makes the security fence around your data even stronger. Especially when it comes to financial data, you should never access financial data online on any device without using a VPN, and definitely never, I mean never ever, while on a public Wi-Fi. You see, public Wi-Fis are one of the most common ways people get hacked today. It is so easy for just about anyone with a 4th grade education to set up a man-in-the-middle attack using public Wi-Fis, and most people are never aware of it because most man-in-the-middle hacks will also let you access the internet so you never ever knew you were hacked in the first place. Another very common way people get hacked is by someone having physical access to their phone. Just a few seconds of access allows them to quickly download various software that oftentimes just looks like any other app on your phone, and it is hidden like a game or a productivity app or looks like a system app. They could also install these malicious pieces of software on your phone without having physical access to the phone. If they can hack your Gmail account or your iPhone account, well, they may be able to push software over to your phone. Now, this is a bit more complicated, but in the right scenario, this can happen, but it can be detected if you know how. Probably the most common way bad guys get access through it is through clicking their links. They may send a text message that looks like a normal text, something like this. Hi, this is Bob from Sales. Can you double check these numbers, please? And then they send you a link that appears to be going to your company's website and it appears to be going to a normal spreadsheet file. But when you click on it, well, it really just downloads and installs some malicious software. Then it gives you an error like file can't be found. You quickly respond, sorry, Bob, I was unable to open the file. Can you resend it? Now the hacker knows you fell into his trap. You see, they don't have to trick everybody into clicking those spam and text messages or emails. They only need to trick 1 or 2 people. Don't let that one person be you. If you have antivirus software on your phone and if you use a VPN, well, most of those things would be detected or blocked up front. But just in case, what you need to do is go to your apps on your phone and see what apps have access to your phone's location and files. Why does that bubble popping, candy gobbling, box smashing video game need access to the files on your phone or access to your location? I always recommend reviewing these apps and limiting the amount of apps that have access to this sensitive data. If you disable access to your location and the app insists that it needs access to play that game, well, perhaps you should consider uninstalling it ASAP. You also need to uninstall all apps you do not recognize. Now, some of these will be normal bloatware garbage that the phone companies put on your phone. And even if you uninstall them, they will be reinstalled with system updates, which is code for we made some minor security and feature updates. And we have some new games that we want to put on your phone so we can make 6 cents off of you. If you can't uninstall them, then deactivate them. You might also consider doing a factory reset of your phone using a brand new login and a secured password. Now that will mean you lose all your data, your contacts, your photos, you name it, but it may be necessary to help ensure security. Now next, what you want to do is you want to check out this video right here.